There's probably not a single more saturated story in fantasy as the one of a hero and his group fighting the evil lord of the demons. As someone who played most of the mainline Final Fantasy games, I'm well aware of this. I think you are well aware of this, and that is also true for anime. Especially anime. This trope has been the expected checkmark of bad fantasy shows or satire ones like Konosuba, something that yells no creativity or at least nothing important to mind in the villains of the story. You can have anime that give you something different with this setting. I look at Cautious Zero as a good example. The focus of the show was solely in the generic setting of a hero defeats the demon lord, with a hero that takes every measure possible before doing any decision, to the point that was frustrating to watch him. And he did that over and over and over again. However, I had to recognize that this anime at the same time breaks some of the expectations of the classic generic setting. This world you see is way more dangerous than your average fantasy world. The hero understands that and takes every caution necessary to ensure that he can succeed, and when things go out of the plan, he still will try his best to save his group or the innocent people, even if letting them die or sacrificing them would make things easier. He may be a douche to everyone, but lives takes priority over the mission, and that makes him a hero. This small change in the world and setting made the dull and boring story in a way more interesting one, and that is something that I can appreciate. Alan Moore, a renowned comic book writer, believes every aspiring writer should read terrible books. Reading only the great media can inspire you, however you run the risk of plagiarism. The bad ones can help you recognize and learn with other authors' mistakes. Seeing these stories and simply imagine the changes you would make to improve them can help you develop better your own taste for stories or your own style of writing. Yusha Yamemasu, or the English name I'm creating heroine, I'll be calling you Yame, is a fantasy anime with the premise of the human hero Leon Demonheart and his party are in a mission of defeating the demon lord Echidna. However, when his group stops at an inn and starts a discussion, he decides to leave them behind and complete the mission by himself. He successfully does due to being incredibly powerful. After the battle, the human kingdom has no use to him, so he decides to look for work in the demon kingdom, the same one that he destroyed, and help them to rebuild it. Being honest, when I look at the cover and at this premise, I was expecting a goof and silly fantasy show, but due to the premise of showing the aftermath of the battle and not a generic story, I decided to give it a try. For the surprise of no one, the art isn't the best, the backgrounds and scenarios are okay, but the character design is too generic. You can tell their personalities just by looking at them. They didn't avoid the stereotypes of generic fantasy. You can say that Echidna, for being a demon queen and being kind-hearted and caring about her people, it's something to take in consideration, and you know what? You're right. But you could at least make something about Kirito over here. Even when he tries to use magic to change his face, he made himself more generic than before. Leo is not your perfect protagonist. He is egotistic and powerful, and as we saw before, thinks he can solve all problems by himself. However, when dealing with the generals, he starts to understand that things are not that simple as he thought. They are way more complex people, as they were his enemies in fight. I like how he's not only finding ways to help them, but how they are slowly showing his flaws to himself. Since he lacks an objective, he is a white canvas, ready to be painted, and they are having the influence that he didn't have when he was the hero. Which, by the way, he never felt anger when humanity disposed of him, but rather he understood why everyone did that. And we will understand as his past is revealed to us. I don't think they misplaced any soundtracks until now. I hope we're not expecting the next One-Winged Angel from Nobuo Uematsu, obviously. The songs are subtle and serve the purpose well, and that's all I have to say. Now, what I like about the show is the generals. The ones that serve the queen Echidna. Each one of them have a distinctive personality, and honestly they are way too predictable. I mean, you can tell them just by looking at them, as I said before, but I really like how they are more than it looks. I think the author made them look that way on purpose, because they all have a backstory that complements it well without going out of the character. but at the same time I think it was made to fit Leo's backstory. They serve as to show examples of humanity to Leo, which lacks humanity. I can't say much because I don't want to spoil the future episodes. This anime is way better than it looks, believe me, but these characters are really good and I really love them. Although the character design could be way better, but I mean, I'm fine with that. I am not a fan of Echidna. The anime is trying to make her see her as the hero of the story because she is really kind-hearted and really pure. However, I don't like this. Okay, I get it, the humans are actually the villains of the story, but it would be cool that even the queen of the demons would have something mean, something that is not as pure as it looks. The world setting is, as again, a world of swords and magic. Unfortunately, there's nothing special to it. I wish I could tell you better on this, but I'm sorry, I just can't. For now, you have to deal with the generic things that we see. Overall, Yuyame is a good anime from the spring season and a decent watch. It is not spectacular, but if you want a fantasy that can actually deliver something of quality, this is your show to check.